sights are set upon the land we love. And vibes are the cue for me. Fight, fight, fight. I'll guard the planet like a shield for a night. So no, I won't stop fighting till it's over. Won't run away. And you can bet that Earth will keep on turning. I'm making sure it's safe. Join in the face of my fists are sturdy in their faith. They'll never shake. Ain't nobody stopping their burn. Show what we're made of. I'll change the future with my nerves to one that we deserve for the world.
Previously on Dragon Ball Shinken, the evil angel Kari had under his command an army of robots that was on a campaign of destruction across the universe, while collecting genetic data from different peoples for a bigger project. However, the Galactic Patrol, especially Vegito's daughter Bulla, destroyed Kari's battle machine army and also the general commanding his forces. However, Kari does not despair. On the contrary, he now sees in Bulla an opportunity to accelerate the execution of his plan. The evil angel summons something he calls the extermination team and is ready to take the next step. What will be Kari's next move, and what is the power level of his extermination team? Find out now. Episode 33, Killing Machines, Part 2. On an uninhabited planet, a series of explosions happen. Gogeta is in the middle of a battle, moving nimbly across the planet's ground, dodging multiple ki blasts. At this moment, Gogeta is completely in disbelief, barely believing what is happening. He simply didn't expect to live to see this happen. Those who fight against Gogeta are Pilaf, Shu, and Mai. And to the Saiyan's complete shock, they are extremely powerful, to the point of offering him a challenge. While Pilaf fires energy shots at him, Shu advances, brandishing his sword to execute an attack, which Gogeta deftly dodges, seeing the ground below him being hit, and then the entire planet being split in half by the blade's cut. Then the one who attacks is Mai, who carries a shotgun and aims at him with a weapon. After aiming, Mai fires the shot, which Gogeta also dodges with a quick movement, and sees a gigantic crater being opened in the planet's ground thanks to the power of the projectile. The power of the shot was so great that a hole opened from one end of the planet to the other. Gogeta soon understood that in the dimension that these three come from, the scale of power is totally different from their home dimension. These three people, who in his dimension are extremely weak, in this other reality surpass the level of the gods of destruction he knows. And that's not all. The weapons they are using seem to be common weapons in their reality, but in this reality they are capable of damaging planets. While firing incessant energy shots at Gogeta as if his energy would never run out, Pilaf laughs in an evil way while saying that in this universe he is as powerful as a god and intends to act as such, dominating this entire universe. But Gogeta, at the same time as he avoids a super fast sequence of swords from Shu, responds to Pilaf saying that won't happen. A sword from Shu even cuts a lock of Gogeta's hair, who is impressed by his speed. "I'll make mincemeat of you," Shu threatens, continuing his incessant attacks. Suddenly, Gogeta notices something and his face takes on a much more serious expression. Shu swings his sword with technique and aggression in a precise cut that hits Gogeta's collarbone and buries the blade into the Saiyan's stomach. "Gotcha!" He celebrates. However, in less than a second, Gogeta's wound is completely healed, surprising him and the others. Shu tries to remove his sword from Gogeta's body, but the blade is stuck, and no matter how hard he tries, he can't. He asks what Gogeta did, and he replies that he just stiffed his body. This is easy when you master ki as he does. Shu leaves the blade stuck in Gogeta's body and tries to jump away, but Gogeta holds him in the air using telekinesis, and when Mai fires a shot with her shotgun at him, Gogeta moves Shu in front of him, using the dog man as a shield. Mai's shot hits Shu and pushes him away very injured. Mai is surprised by this, and Gogeta uses the second of surprise too, also with telekinesis, take the shotgun out of Mai's hand, make the weapon that now floats turn against her, and fire a point-blank shot that also pushes the woman away very injured. Gogeta removes Shu's sword from his body and then makes both my shotgun and Shu's sword disappear from existence with a Hakai. These weapons are very dangerous in this dimension, he concludes as he destroys them. Seeing that his two companions are defeated, Pilaf becomes very angry and attacks Gogeta, making several attacks, but Gogeta easily dodges them all. Pilaf is very surprised by this and asks, "What happened? A few seconds ago you were being pressured, and now you defeated them in an instant." Gogeta responds, "Even though you are very powerful, I was always far above, but I was curious to see the extent of your powers. However, the situation has changed, and I have a more serious matter to worry about." Gogeta catches one of the thousands of punches thrown by Pilaf, and then with a single blow endowed with masterful precision, hits his neck and knocks him out. After defeating Pilaf, Gogeta reunites him, Shu, and Mai. The Saiyan heals Shu and Mai's injuries in an instant after extending his hands to them, and then sends them somewhere with teleportation while saying, "For now I will send you to a safe dimension. I will pick you up there later." Since he is apparently alone on the planet, Gogeta looks up at the sky and says, "I've already seen you guys. Get down here at once." Those that Gogeta speaks to are not inside the planet, but observing everything from afar in space. The mysterious trio, after hearing the Saiyan's call, descends to him, arriving from space to the planet's ground in a fraction of a second. Gogeta observes his three enemies for a moment and quickly concludes, "You're androids, aren't you? It explains why I only noticed you when you were close." They question how Gogeta noticed their presence if they don't have ki. He responds that his senses are very heightened because of the Shinken, and even though he is not transformed into his Shinken form, his senses are still very heightened because of this ability. He simply noticed their presence with his other senses. After finishing answering the android's question, it's Gogeta's turn to ask his question. He asks who they are and says he doesn't recognize them. The android that appears to be the leader of the group introduces them. "We are Android 13, 14, and 15. After the android introduces them, Gogeta thinks for a moment. Both in appearance and numbering, they resemble the androids created by Red Ribbon, but I have never seen any of them before. They were certainly created in a parallel reality. Gogeta concludes that their origin is not important. He smiles and in thoughts says, "The important thing is that they are acting exactly as I planned. I wonder if they've reached her already." The three androids notice Gogeta's smile and look at him curiously. At the Galactic Patrol Base, Bulla and Bulma work on another project, which is a battle robot. Bulla is very excited about this project. When this project is finished, even a person without powers will be able to face much more powerful beings. This will make weaker patrollers able to work on more difficult missions. Bulla tells her mother that she would like to be more involved with this project, but unfortunately she can't, because Gohan hasn't finished his training yet, and she needs to replace him. Bulma says she thought Bulla enjoyed participating in the battles too. Bulla admits that she actually enjoys it in a way, probably because of Vegito's Saiyan blood that runs through her veins. But in the end, technology is her true passion. In the base's control room, Jaco continues to observe the patrol's missions through the various monitors that surround him. Noticing a new occurrence, he contacts Bulla via a communicator, informing her of the new mission. Bulla sighs, certainly not wanting to go, but as she can't deny the mission, she says goodbye to her mother and goes. Bulla is taken by teleportation technology to a planet where an android attacks a city without any hesitation, eliminating all the citizens he sees. As soon as Bulla arrives, she tells this android to stop doing what he is doing. The android stares at her with a completely indifferent expression, like a true machine devoid of emotion. And it is with this same expressionlessness that the android points his hand to the ground and accumulates power. Bulla realizes what he intends to do and screams at him not to do it while moving forward to try to stop him. But she can't, and the android's energy is fired, hitting the planet's ground and then completely destroying it in a single explosion. Only Bulla and the android remain, who now float through the wreckage of the planet in the vacuum. Bulla is now very angry and asks the android why he did that. He responds by saying that his intention was to get her attention, so he no longer needed the planet. Bulla is very irritated to hear him treating all those people as if they were nothing, but she is curious to know that attracting her was his goal. "What do you want with me? Doesn't have anything to do with those robots I destroyed?" she asks. Not willing to say much, the android responds in a short and direct way. "My mission is not to answer your questions. All you need to know is that my name is Super Android 16, and I'm here to take you." Bulla gives her answer, taking her combat stance and saying she won't go with him. "You have no choice," the android responds. He immediately reaches her at such an incredible speed that Bulla is unable to react, and then lands a very strong punch that sinks into the Saiyan's stomach, making her wince in terrible pain. Realizing that the android was no joke, Bulla quickly transforms into a Super Saiyan and retaliates his attack with a side kick to the head. But it doesn't even have enough strength to make Super 16 move. Bulla recoils as she fires a wave of power at the energy. However, with great ease, he advances through the Saiyan's attack, quickly reaching her, grabbing her by the neck, and starting a chokehold. However, Bulla doesn't stand still. She reacts immediately, raising her power to Super Saiyan 2, releasing a flaming aura surrounded by electricity with great power. However, this doesn't affect the android, who keeps his hand on her neck. She launches several kicks against the enemy, reaching the android's abdomen, ribs, and face with her attacks. But against Super 16, none of that has any effect, as the android remains immobile. Finally, Bulla resorts to another power increase, Super Saiyan 3. As the aura of fire and lightning expands, 16 is pulled away from the girl. She is now breathing desperately, her hand on her sore neck, expressing great relief. Like any galactic patroller, Bulla is equipped with a technological device hidden in her uniform that allows her to breathe in the vacuum of space. In addition to relief, Bulla also feels very angry. "You bastard! You're going to pay for this!" she threatens the android. Super 16 doesn't respond. He just stares blankly at his opponent. Gogeta realizes from the sensation of ki that Bulla has already resorted to her Super Saiyan 3. "It seems I was right. They sent someone very powerful to deal with her," he thinks. Suddenly, the first of one of the androids is already inches from her face. It's Android 15 who rushes forward with an ultra-fast punch at the Saiyan, who at the last moment managed to dodge it, letting him pass straight through. Soon after, Gogeta has to make a jump because of how low an attack came from Android 14. And while he's in the air, the one who attacks is Android 13, who after forming a super concentrated sphere of red ki shoots at him. Gogeta escapes the attack with a teleportation and then sees the gigantic explosion happen in space. And although the attack does not explode on the planet, only the pressure of the explosion completely crushes that entire planet. These guys are really very strong, Gogeta recognizes. Gogeta faces androids 13, 14, and 15, while the trio that belongs to the extermination team sent by evil angels surrounds him, looking for an opening to attack. The first attack comes from Android 14, who thought he had found an opening, but was mistaken when he saw Gogeta skillfully avoid his blow, and then hit him with another one that threw him away. The next one is Android 13, who points one of his fingers at him and fires a super concentrated energy laser aimed at Gogeta's back, but he is paying attention and turns around, diverting the course of the attack with a kick. Android 15 emerges from below, attempting an upward punch aimed at the Saiyan's chin. However, Gogeta swiftly evades it by moving his head back, allowing the android's punch to pass through. Taking advantage of the opening, Gogeta propels his body forward again, using his own head to strike the android in the face. 13 and 14 approach at the same time to exchange blows against Gogeta, and then 15 returns to participate as well. Even though these three extremely powerful androids are attacking at the same time, Gogeta manages to keep up with them. On the other hand, Bulla, even in Super Saiyan 3, is not able to match the level of Super 16. As they exchange attacks in a frantic movement through the space of the great universe, the Saiyan realizes a great disadvantage in relation to the android, and while her attacks have no effect on the enemy, 16's attacks cause considerable damage to her body. Bulla moves away from the enemy and recognizes that she needs help, asks Commander Jaco through the communicator. Jaco is monitoring the patroller's mission in the base's command room when he hears Bulla's call, who asks for reinforcements immediately, preferably from Gogeta. Jaco tells her that Gogeta can't right now, as he's in the middle of a battle too, but says he'll look for patrollers available to help her. However, at that moment, an energy attack hits the Galactic Patrol base, opening a hole in the control room through which an invader enters. At the moment that the ship is hit, Bulma, who is in the technological development room working on the battle robot, loses her balance due to the intense shaking of the ship and wonders what is happening. In the command room, Commander Jaco asks who the invader is and how he managed to get to the base without being noticed by the patrol's very advanced radars. The attacker responds to the commander's questions. "You can call me Super Android 17, and the answer to your question is simple. Your radars didn't detect me simply because I moved at such an extraordinary speed that there wasn't time for that to happen." Jaco says that Super 17 is either very brave or very stupid to attack the Galactic Patrol base like that, since in an instant all the most powerful warriors in the universe will be against him. But then Super 17 smiles and says that won't happen. Concentrating his energy, 17 releases multiple electrical blasts from his body that spread throughout the base, overloading the systems and causing a short circuit in all of them. This way, all communication that Jaco could have is lost. Jaco doesn't believe what's happening, saying that the Galactic Patrol systems are very advanced and should support this kind of thing. But Super 17 responds very proud of himself, saying that the patroller systems are completely outdated compared to him. Jaco asks what he wants there and if the android's target is him. Super 17 says no, his target is someone else. This answer makes Jaco curious. In his fortress, Kari observes everything through his magic, sitting on his throne with Android 21 at his side. Android 21 seems a bit irritated and says she understands why Kari wants the Saiyan girl, but she doesn't understand why he wants that woman. Kari says the answer should be obvious, and that this person's help will be crucial to realizing their plan. 21 doesn't like to hear this, but she doesn't argue. Using telepathy, Kari speaks to Super 17's mind, ordering him not to waste time and get straight to the point. After receiving this order, Super 17 turns his back to Jaco to go somewhere else, but Jaco suddenly disappears from where he is and reappears in front of the android. He says that whatever the android wants, he won't have it. 17 tells him to get out of the way, but Jaco's response is to draw his gun and shoot him with an extremely powerful energy shot, which sends the android out of the ship. Only several kilometers later does 17 manage to stop his body, and when the commander of the Galactic Patrol comes flying towards him, the android admits surprised by this attack. Now, with 2 weapons in hand, Jaco says he may not be a great fighter, but no one handles the Patrol's extremely advanced weapons better than him, so things won't be as easy as 17 is thinking. Super 17 advances towards the commander of the Galactic Patrol, who unleashes a barrage of energy shots from his 2 weapons in a split second. The android incredibly dodges every shot as he closes in on him. Finally, he reaches Jaco and delivers a punch, but Jaco activates a technological shield to block 17's attack. With a swift maneuver, the shield transforms into an electrical network, ensnaring and electrocuting the android. Jaco tells his enemy that his equipment was made by the most intelligent woman in the universe, and although he himself isn't that strong, the fact that he can use this equipment so well makes him a very high-level opponent. Only after he says these things does Jaco realize what the android wants. It's Bulma, isn't it? You want her? He questions the android. With a blast of ki, 17 destroys the technological network that trapped him and attacks the patroller again. Jaco extends both weapons to shoot at him, but 17 swiftly disarms him, taking both weapons from his hands and crushing them. After that, he attempts to grab Jaco, but Jaco quickly employs teleportation technology to conjure a stick into his hand. With the stick, he strikes the android, pushing him away. 17 gets a little impatient and says that this technology is really annoying, but that it won't save Jaco for long. Gogeta continues the fight against the trio of androids who do their best to hit the Saiyan, who, despite facing all 3 at the same time, manages to deftly avoid their attacks. 14 and 15 come from the sides with a punch, while 13 comes from the front with a kick. But at the same time, Gogeta raises both his arms to defend the side attack and one of his knees to defend the frontal attack, thus defending himself from the 3 androids with a single movement. Then the enemies move away from the Saiyan. Android 13 gets very angry and tells Gogeta to give up at once, since it's 3 against 1 and he's going to lose regardless of what he does. Do you really think so? He asks in clear sarcasm, and then responds, "In that case, I think I'll fix my numerical disadvantage." Gogeta fills his lungs with air, and then simply creates 3 ghosts of himself, similar to Gotenks' ghost. The androids are completely surprised by this and ask what kind of trick this is. Look at this turn of events. It seems that now you are the ones with the numerical disadvantage. He makes fun of his opponents. Gogeta orders his ghost to attack. Each ghost attacks an android. Unlike Gotenks' ghost, these do not explode with a simple touch. Instead, they begin real combat with the androids, exchanging several attacks. Even though they are just Gogeta's ghosts, each of them is on the same level as the androids, which leaves the 3 of them completely shocked. Gogeta just crosses his arms and watches their fight, while teasing the androids by saying he's going to wait someone beats a ghost and comes to fight him. But while he provokes the androids with his words, his thoughts focus on Bulla. Pushing the power of her Super Saiyan 3 to the limit, Bulla continues to engage in an extremely arduous fight against Super Android 16. At that moment, she attacks him with countless spheres of energy that explode against the android's body. filling a large region of the dark void with lights in a luminous spectacle. However, all the spectacle is of no use, as 16's body remains intact. On the other hand, a single shot of 16 when hitting Bulla creates an explosion equally powerful as all the multiple explosions created by her, and unlike how it was with 16, the attack truly has an effect on the Saiyan, who has her body very injured. Damn, where are the reinforcements Commander Jaco promised? She asks herself, recognizing that she can't bear it much longer. Jaco is thrown with extreme violence into the Galactic Patrol base through a powerful attack from Super Android 17. The patrol commander can no longer stand up, impressed by the fact that few of the enemy's attacks have been powerful enough to overcome the resistance provided by his technological suit. Jaco can no longer maintain his consciousness and passes out. 17 enters the ship right after him. The invader praises the patrol commander, saying that he really impressed him with his resistance, considering he is someone who does not have great powers. He recognizes that Jaco uses such powerful technology really well, but unfortunately he was dealing with an impossible opponent. 17 extends his hand to the fallen patrolman and says he will end this once and for all. But when he was about to completely eliminate Jaco, something hits him and takes the android out of the ship again. 17 is carried away from the ship, and he sees that what hit him was some kind of battle robot. This robot is the same one that Bulma was working on with Bulla a short time ago, and she is the one controlling it inside this robot. Bulma is a little scared since the project isn't finished yet, but she had no choice but to intervene. Android 17 realizes that Bulma is the one controlling this robot and asks if she really intends to confront him with it. Bulma says that this machine is being created precisely so that someone weaker can face someone stronger. So this is the perfect test. The robot's arm is pointed in the direction of 17, several holes open, and a series of missiles are fired at the android. 17 protects his body with an energy dome, and when his shield is hit by the missiles, gigantic explosions occur in that region of space. Super 17 is surprised by the power of these missiles, as he did not expect them to be so powerful. Bulma wastes no time and leads the robot to attack, reaching 17 with a super punch, but it is easily held by him. However, Bulma had anticipated this and promptly activates a jet of extremely powerful flames from the robot's hand, completely engulfing the enemy's body. The flames released by the robot could easily incinerate an entire planet. However, apparently for Super 17, this is nothing, as the android remains unshakable even after being bathed in flame. With a single punch, Super 17 penetrates the robot's armor, and then he simply pulls Bulma out of the machine. 17 praises Bulma, admitting that this battle robot had impressive power, even though it is apparently a project still in development. The rumor about the great genius being the creator of the Galactic Patrol technology were true. He says, "But unfortunately for you, I'm not just anyone. And worms like you and that other guy never had a chance of defeating me." Because of the strength with which he holds her, Bulma ends up fainting. With the scientist who created the robot unconscious in his hands, the android lets it float through space like a large inanimate metallic junk. With Bulma in hand, 17 announces that his mission is complete. In another very distant point in that great universe, Bulla and Super Android 16 face off. At this point, Bulla is already completely exhausted and injured, having tried in every possible way to resist Super 16. But even in Super Saiyan 3, all her resistance was useless. Super Android 16 has his body completely intact and without scratches, still maintaining his indifferent posture and devoid of any type of feeling. But Bulla doesn't give up and advances in a determined attack, delivering the most powerful punch she could give the android. However, when the punch lands, it is her hand that breaks. At the height of her pain and fatigue, she regresses to her base form, and then the fight is ended by Super 16, who brutally hits her in the ribs, destroying the Saiyan's bones and causing her to faint through overwhelming pain. Once Bulla is passed out, 16 holds her, puts her on his shoulder, and tells that his mission is complete. Kari smiles very satisfied. In front of him, teleported by the angel's magic, Super Android 16 and 17 arrive, who respectively carry Bulla and Bulma. The angel praises his machines. "Very well, Super Android 16 and 17. You have completed your tasks perfectly." Then he telepathically communicates with the others. "Androids 13, 14, and 15. You can now return. I'll bring you back right now." The three androids, while facing the ghosts created by Gogeta, receive this announcement and prepare to leave. But suddenly, Gogeta's ghosts, who was fighting against them, exchanging blows, grab the three of them. When the ghosts do this, Gogeta creates energy shields around them, and then he says goodbye to the machines. Well, thanks for keeping me entertained for those few minutes, but now I'm tired of this game. Gogeta's ghosts explode while holding the android, but the explosion is contained within the shields created by Gogeta. Each explosion from a ghost had enough power to destroy an entire ordinary-sized universe. But as he didn't want to cause damage over a large area, Gogeta contained the expansion of the explosion. When he undoes the domes, he sees that all that remains of what those androids were are a small few pieces of their internal mechanism. Damn, androids 13, 14, and 15 were destroyed at the last moment, Android 21 laments. Campari says it's a shame, but at least they did their job, which in the end is what really matters. However, there is still use for them, the angel adds as he taps his staff on the ground. Gogeta sees those few pieces of the androids magically disappear and becomes a little curious about that. The pieces of androids 13, 14, and 15 appear before Campari and the others. 21. Reuse this wreckage, he says to the android next to him. But first, you already know what you have to do, right? He asks while staring with a smile at the passed out Bulma. Android 21 is reluctant to do what Campari is asking, and says that her mind is enough to carry out his plans. But Campari insists, saying that this woman is the brilliant mind behind the Galactic Patrol, certainly one of the most intelligent people in her dimension, or the most intelligent. If the intelligence of the two are united, the result will be incomparable. 21 tries to insist, but in an act that surprises her, Campari gets up from his throne and slaps the android in the face, who immediately falls to the ground with her hand on the painful face. Enough of that, Campari screams. Your job is not to argue with me, but to obey me. Do it at once or you will be destroyed. 21 remains silent for some time, looking at the angel. The expression on her face seems to be a mixture of fear and disappointment. Android 21 begins a transformation process, with her body that looks like an earthling now taking on a very peculiar shape, very reminiscent of Majin Buu. She makes a piece of her body detach and capture Bulma, and then brings that part of her body back, absorbing the other woman. After doing this, she returns to her base form. Campari looks at her curiously and asks how 21 is feeling now. Well, now I have access to the intelligence of this woman named Bulma, and it is very advanced indeed. I have at least double my mental capacity now, 21 responds, but despite her response being positive, she still maintains a displeased appearance. Splendid, Campari exclaims happily. With the mind of this woman called Bulma and Vegito's genes present in Bulla's body, the Cell Ultra project will be completed much faster, and also with much more power than I expected. Campari tells Android 21 to hurry up and get to work, as they have to finish this android as quickly as possible to destroy Vegito once and for all, and also his allies. In the world of the gods, a magnificent combat unfolds. Multiple explosions of impact and energy happen everywhere on the planet at the same time, that rays of light travel across the globe many times per second. The level of speed and power in that fight is simply extraordinary. Within the planet, many weather phenomena happen at the same time. The entire Earth is affected by an earthquake of catastrophic scales. In the large central lake of the planet, which is the size of an ocean, an unprecedented tsunami occurs. Lights fill the skies in the form of bolts and lightning, whose thunderous sound echoes across the globe. Giant torpedoes form everywhere, taking trees from forests and even parts of the ground. But none of these powerful natural phenomena cause more damage to the planet than the monstrous impact waves that are generated by the attacks of combatants, whose colliding fists generate powerful gusts of wind and electrical currents. The combatants are Gohan and Vegito, the first fighting in his beast form, and the second fighting in Super Saiyan Blue. Zamasu, Chamras, and Daishinken witness this combat. Zamasu can't even stay in place. In order to avoid being carried away by the strong wind and the force of the impacts of the attacks, he needs to hold on to Chamras. Meanwhile, Chamras and Daishinken remain completely mesmerized by the fight. Daishinken comments that Gohan's potential is truly extraordinary. A few days ago, he could barely fight Vegito in regular Super Saiyan, but now using the same transformation, he is already able to maintain a fight against Vegito's Super Saiyan Blue. Chamras agrees, but reminds Daishinken that the objective of the training itself has not yet been completed, as Vegito's intention was always to make Gohan use that other transformation, which has not happened yet. However, Daishinken reminds the Hakaishin that despite not having used the transformation yet, Gohan has already managed to advance a lot in controlling his own power in these training. And this indirectly helps a lot, since in the end, the objective of all this has always been to do Gohan can better control his power and fury. In short, even though he hadn't used the transformation yet, he had definitely progressed. Gohan and Vegito advance against each other, both preparing a punch with great power. However, they stop immediately when Gogeta appears behind them with a teleport. Surprised and scared, Gohan asks Gogeta not to do anything like that anymore, as he was not containing his strength and could hurt him. Gogeta laughs at this and tells Gohan that he needs to increase his power much more before he has the capacity to hurt him. Vegito asks what Gogeta wants and why he appeared like that. Gogeta says that a problem has arisen, and the two of them will definitely want to know what it is. Obviously, Gohan and Vegito are intrigued by this. While Zamasu is repairing the damage to the planet, Chamras, Daishinken, Gogeta, Vegito, and Gohan are talking. Gogeta tells them about the robot case and how Bulla was kidnapped by a very powerful android. Obviously, Gohan and Vegito are worried about Bulla and say that they need to find out as quickly as possible what is behind this case involving the robots. But Gogeta says that they don't need to investigate anything, as he already knows who is behind all this: an angel. They ask how he knows this, and Gogeta explains everything by saying that while Bulla was fighting General Rildo, he became interested in the fight and started paying attention to her. During this fight, when Bulla said that her father was the strongest Saiyan in this universe, referring to Vegito, General Rildo became very interested, and so he realized that General Rildo knew Vegito in some way. That is, he probably had a relationship with Angel. After realizing this, Gogeta teleported to the battle site, not with the intention of fighting, as he knew that Bulla was fully capable of defeating Rildo. His intention was actually to observe the situation and confirm his suspicions. While he was near Bulla and Rildo, he managed to use his advanced telepathic abilities to overhear a mental conversation between General Rildo and his master, who really was an angel, as he suspected. It's been a few days since Bulla's fight against General Rildo. The enemy certainly took that time to wait for the dust to settle and then make his attack. They sent androids much more powerful than General Rildo to distract me, and also another android to capture Bulla. Gogeta finishes explaining. After hearing this, Vegito gets furious and grabs Gogeta by his clothes. "You bastard! You didn't even think to let me know that an angel was interested in my daughter, even after one of them tried to kill Gohan?" Vegito asks. Gogeta justifies while maintaining a calm tone. "I didn't want to interfere with your training with Gohan, nor did I want you to intervene in this situation. Furthermore, I realized from the angel's conversation with General Rildo that he didn't want to kill Bulla. His intentions were different from Wad's intentions with Gohan, so rest assured that he won't harm Bulla for now." Despite Gogeta's words, Vegito doesn't calm down. "You say that with such calmness because it is not your daughter who is in the hands of the enemy." Feeling the grip of Vegito's hands on his clothes intensify, Gogeta pushes him away and then disagrees, saying that in his dimension, Bulla is Vegeta's daughter, just as Gohan is Goku's son, so he does care about them, and he wouldn't be so calm unless he was sure that nothing bad would happen to Bulla. "How can you be so sure nothing will happen to her?" Vegito confronts him. "Maybe this angel won't harm her right away, but what about after he gets what he wants from her?" When Vegito asks this question, Gogeta smiles and responds calmly, saying that won't happen, because this angel won't get what he wants from her. "There is another reason I've been following Bulla and Rildo's battle closely. Having witnessed her fight using all her power, I was able to become very familiar with her ki, and since her ki had such a strong presence in my consciousness, my ability to feel it is much greater. This is one of the various skills I acquired thanks to Shinken. In short, I can feel Bulla's ki perfectly, even though she's in another dimension and doesn't have high ki. In other words, you can go to Bulla whenever you want." "Is that it, Mr. Gogeta?" Gohan asks. Gogeta confirmed. But then Vegito realizes something else and asks Gogeta with even more anger. "You did that on purpose, didn't you? You knew that Angel was going to kidnap Bulla, and you let that happen to get to him." With a serious expression, already expecting a bad reaction, Gogeta confirmed. Vegito's ki begins to rise as absolute fury takes over his face and heart. "You bastard! How dare you use my daughter as bait?" But then Gogeta justifies himself. "You do not realize? This angel discovered that Bulla was your daughter and seemed obsessed with her. This guy would stop at nothing to get his hands on her or kill the girl. With my plan, we can get to him and eliminate that bastard once and for all. It's better to take this risk now than to take a bigger risk later." After Gogeta says that, Chamra smiles and says that he has a very skeptical and practical way of thinking. "You would make a good god of destruction," the Hakaishin says. Gogeta says that the level of mental evolution he reached much thanks to Shinken makes him give more room to rationality than emotion, and makes him see things in a different way. Shinken tells Vegito that no matter how angry he is with Gogeta, now is not the time to argue. Gohan agrees and says that the best thing they can do now is to go and rescue Bulla as quickly as possible and destroy this angel. Vegito is forced to nod. Alright, let's go at once. But then he turns to Gogeta and makes his threat. But if anything bad happens to Bulla, I will completely destroy you. Although the threat is very serious, Gogeta smiles and says that this is the spirit, but he better save all this fury for the angel who wants his daughter. In the laboratory, Kari watches Android 21 work. Now, next to the capsule where Cell Ultra is kept, there is another capsule where Bulla is being kept. Kari praises Android 21, saying that now she has Bulma's intelligence, she is working much more efficiently, since she has already finished that other project, and is moving forward extremely quickly with Cell. 21 doesn't respond because even though she recognizes the improvement in her efficiency, she still doesn't like the idea of having been forced to absorb another scientist. Kari smiles eagerly as he watches 21 at work. However, his smile is completely shattered when he notices an alert on his staff. It cannot be! How did they get here? The angel screams in surprise when he realizes the presence of his enemy. Already in that dimension, but outside the technological fortress, lie the three Saiyans, Gohan, Gogeta, and Vegito. Kari appears before them. He asks about their presence there, curious to know how they managed to get to that private dimension. But Vegito doesn't even respond to the angel, advancing against him, transforming into Super Saiyan Blue, and, with blood in his eyes, attacking with a punch that Kari defends with his staff. After holding Vegito's punch, the angel pushes him away with the motion of his staff. He then raises his staff to block a punch from Gohan, who descends upon him in his ultimate form with a powerful blow. However, the angel effortlessly blocks the attack. Kari propels Gohan into the air and launches an energy beam at him. The beam would have hit Gohan if it weren't for Gogeta flying towards him and moving him out of harm's way. Vegito, without any patience to delay in the fight, begins to unleash his real power, invoking his special transformation that combines the powers of Ultra Ego and Ultra Instinct. Gohan, Gogeta go after Bulla. I'm in charge of eliminating that bastard, the Saiyan who had just transformed says, staring at his opponent voraciously. But Kari says that won't happen. He slams his staff on the ground, and then Super Android 17, Super Android 16, and a previously unknown android appear at his side. Without wasting time, Super Android 16 takes a super powerful flight towards Gohan with such high speed that Gohan has no time to react and is hit in the chest by the android's two hands, which carries him away. Gogeta thinks about chasing them to help, but he immediately has to turn around to defend a punch from the mysterious android. For some reason, you look familiar, he tells the android. I'm Super Android 13, developed from androids 13, 14, and 15 solely to destroy you. The machine responds. Vegito advances against Kari again to land a flying hit on him, but Super Android 17 puts himself in front of the angel and forms an energy shield around them, making Vegito only hit the shield with his kick and then retreat. Get out of the way, you junk. I don't have the patience to face mere useless henchmen now, the Saiyan says, thirsty for the angel's blood. Kari tells Vegito that it's better not to treat Super 17 like a simple junk, or else he might regret it. After carrying Gohan away from the other Saiyans, Super Android 16 throws him against the ground of a forest and then lands next to him. Gohan gets up with a little difficulty because of the pain he feels in his chest due to the android's blow. 16 does a brief analysis of Gohan and says, your genes are similar to that girl named Bulla. If you are as strong as her, give up the fight at once. When he says this, Gohan realizes that the android in front of him now was responsible for his sister's kidnapping. He becomes furious and then unleashes the power of his beast form and charges at the enemy with full power. When Gohan reaches 16, their forearms cross, generating a monstrous impact that sweeps away all the trees in the vicinity. Gohan is completely surprised. This guy managed to stop my attack. It can't be. 16 counterattacks by punching Gohan in the chin and knocking him off the ground. But before Gohan could gain altitude, the android grabs him by the ankle and throws the Saiyan backward to the ground with great force. Still holding Gohan by the ankle, 16 points his other hand at him and fires a blast of energy that causes a gigantic explosion throughout that area. After this attack, Gohan already has reasonable injuries on his body, remaining down with the android holding him. Your power is incomparably greater than that of the Saiyan named Bulla, but it is still insufficient to beat me, the android says as he prepares a second energy attack. But this time Gohan reacts, firing a wave of energy at him, that hits 16 and makes the android let go of his ankle as he is pushed away. After that, Gohan gets up and says that the android will pay for attacking his sister. While Kari and his extermination team distract Gogeta, Gohan and Vegito, Android 21, who now also has Bulma's intelligence, works on the project called Cell Ultra. Will Kari and the androids succeed, or will the Saiyans be able to thwart their plans? Find out in the next episodes of Dragon Ball Shinken.